the Strategic Mushroom Game, a 2024 Split Stone Games in conjunction with Bird Island Games. 1 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, playtime 40 to 90 minutes. Mycelia is a dynamic game of tactics, a competition for space and resources to create your own mushroom kingdom. The game follows the life cycle of fungi, a journey of creation, expansion, death, and rebirth. Growing mushrooms to score points, sporing them to expand your mycelia network, and eventually seeing them decay to unlock special actions. Mycelia is a 1 to 4 player game. Each player has 2 actions to perform on their turn. The main aim of the game is to gain the most points by growing or fruiting mushrooms, sporing from these mushrooms, and being efficient at fruiting further mushrooms whilst protecting and expanding your fungi kingdom. Points will be scored at the end of the game. Ways you'll score points: gain the highest points through growing mushrooms, collecting insect tokens, and gaining the end game token. Each time you grow a mushroom, you gain the points displayed in the gold diamond displayed on the mushroom card. For every 2 insect tokens you have at the end of the game, you score 1 point. The player who triggers the end of the game receives the end game token, worth 5 points. What is mycelia? Mycelia, plural of mycelium, are the hidden root systems of fungi. Mycelia are composed of dense masses of fine, thread-like filaments called hyphae. These threads naturally extend into the soil, plant matter, wood, and other materials to pick up water and nutrients for their food. The mushrooms you see are only the fruiting bodies of mycelia and are only a part of the fungi hidden under the earth. When spores are released from these mushrooms and dispersed by air, they germinate in new locations and create new mycelia. 69 mushroom cards, 20 mushroom tokens, 5 per player, 120 spore tokens, 30 per player, 20 spore counters, 5 per player, 4 mother mushrooms, 1 per player, 20 player mats, 5 per player, 50 triangle tiles, 20 insect tokens, 1 wind direction die, 10 automata cards, 2 automata ref cards, 4 player aids, and the end game token. Triangle tiles. Shuffle the triangle tiles and place in 2 piles face down. Then select the top 6 from each pile and set up in a star shape as shown. The board will grow and adapt as the game goes on. Be sure to leave plenty of room around the initial star shape. Insect tokens. If the tile has the insect symbol, immediately place an insect token on this tile. Then give 1 token to each player and leave the rest to one side. Mushroom cards. Shuffle all the mushroom cards, deal 3 to each player, and leave them face down. Player mats. Each player should have 5 of their color player mats in front of them, ordering them from 1 to 5 pips. Then place your mushroom tokens on the space that match the number of pips. Place your spore counter for each mushroom in the farthest slot to the left, the color slot. Keep the spores handy next to your player mats. Keep any insect tokens you gain next to your player mats. Your player mats should always have a mushroom token or a mushroom card on top. It should never be empty. First player. The first player is determined by whoever saw a mushroom in the wild last, or you can put a spore from each player into a hat and see whose is drawn first, or argue about it for 15 minutes. Mother mushroom. In reverse order, each player places their mother mushroom on one of the 6 center triangle tiles, not a black tile if present. Mother mushrooms can never be on the same tile as another player's. If the player places their mother mushroom on a tile that has an insect token, they immediately gain the token. End game marker. Place the end game marker to one side. This will be claimed at the end of the game by the player that triggers the end game conditions. This marker is worth 5 points, which is added to their total score. See page 14 to learn how the end of game is triggered. Card reveal. Finally, reveal the top 3 cards from the deck and place next to the deck. Players can now look at their cards and begin play. Variations. To make the game shorter, set up just 3 or 4 player mats for each player. The end of game token is worth the same amount of points as there are player mats. 2-player setup. Exactly the same, apart from the second player gets 1 extra card to their starting hand. Taking turns. On a turn, a player has 2 actions. There are 6 actions to choose from: move, spore, explore, fruit, discover, and decay. A player must choose 2 different actions on their turn. Once the player has finished performing their actions, the next player moving clockwise performs their 2 actions, and so forth, until the end of game. There is a handy player aid that reminds the players of what each action does: move, explore, spore, fruit, decay, discover. Move. The only piece that you can move in the game is your mother mushroom. You can move your mother mushroom up to 2 spaces, or triangle tiles. Movement is only over a flat edge of the tile. You can never move onto a tile that already has another player's mother mushroom on it. You can block other players from sporing or decaying by moving your mother mushroom on top of another player's mushroom token. Explore. Placing a new triangle tile on the board. Flip over the top triangle tile of one of the face-down piles and add it anywhere on the board, as long as one flat edge is touching another. If the tile has the insect symbol, you then immediately place an insect token on the tile. This will stay there until a player's mother mushroom lands on or moves through the tile and claims the insect token. The board can grow in any direction, and because the tiles are random, no 2 games are exactly the same. There are 5 types of tile: 4 colored tile, red, green, brown, and yellow, that represent 4 nutrients and minerals that mushrooms need to grow. The special black tile can be used as any color when growing mushrooms. There are 11 of each color and 6 of the special black tile. Symbols on the cards correspond with the symbols shown on the tiles to help anyone with color vision deficiency, color blindness, to differentiate between them. Spore. Create and spread spores across the board. Mushroom selection. Before you spore, you have to say out loud which mushroom you are choosing. Select a fruited mushroom or your mother mushroom. This selection is where your spores will disperse from. Spore counter. Mother mushrooms can spore forever. Fruited mushrooms only have the capacity to spore twice. You keep track of this by using the spore counter above each mushroom slot on your player mat. Move the counter up each time you spore. Once your counter is in the last slot, you can decay that mushroom. Remember, when sporing a fruited mushroom, it's best practice to move your spore counter up before placing your spores on the board. Wind direction. Next, you roll the wind die. Just like in nature, you never know which way the wind is going to blow. So you have to roll the wind die to determine which direction your spores will spread. These symbols are abstract symbols, but an easy way to remember is to see them as O, U, and A. The number of spore cubes you place is determined on the card. Each mushroom has a different spore count and is shown within this symbol. Your mother mushroom will always spore 2 as standard. Spore distribution. Once you have determined the wind direction, you add the appropriate number of spore cubes to the board. The first spore is always placed on the same triangle tile as the mushroom you've chosen. The following spores spread in the direction determined by the wind die, blowing off the edge that shows the matching wind direction symbol. Remember, only the symbol on the tile where you are sporing from matters. You can ignore the rest. The first spore is always placed on the same tile as your fruited mushroom or mother mushroom. The spread of the spores always follows the flat edge of the tile. Spore ownership. Larger pieces, such as a mother mushroom or a mushroom token, always have control over any spores on the tile they occupy. The player with the larger piece can spend all spores on that tile as their own. Fruit. Grow a new mushroom. To fruit a mushroom card from your hand, you must have the correct number of spores located on the correct colored tiles. However, they must be connected. Your colored pieces represent your network, so your mother mushroom or a fruited mushroom can connect spores if needed. If a spore you need is on the other side of the board or cut off by another player's mushroom or mother mushroom, then these spores aren't connected and can't be used together. If you do have the correct spores to spend, you remove them from the board and add them back to your spore supply. You then pick up any available mushroom tokens from your player mat and place the card fruited on that slot. Then place your mushroom token on any free triangle from where you spent spores to grow it. You can't grow 2 mushrooms on one tile. You can grow a mushroom on the same tile that your mother mushroom currently occupies. If you have spent another player's spores, their spores go back to their supply. Decay. Remove mushrooms from the board and gaining bonuses. When one of your mushrooms has spored twice, you now have the option to go into decay for that mushroom. You do this in the following order. First, remove the card from the top of the player mat and slide it underneath the player mat. Second, select the mushroom token that is going into decay and remove it from the main board, placing it back on your corresponding player mat. Third, reset your spore counter by moving the counter to the leftmost slot. Fourth, resolve the mushroom's decay action. There is no limit to how many mushrooms you can decay under one slot. Decay action types. There are 3 main decay actions. Instant action. Instant decay actions must be performed as soon as you decay your chosen mushroom. Game upgrade. Pink decay actions are immediately applied to you and continue for the rest of the game. Mushroom upgrade. These mushroom upgrades only apply to future mushrooms that are grown on the same player mat. Any mushroom that is placed on top of the player mat with this decay upgrade card slipped underneath will gain this display bonus. Discover. Pick up a new card. Pick up one of the 3 mushroom cards on display, or pick up a face-down card from the top of the pile. There is no card limit to your hand. After your turn, replenish the market if any cards were taken. Card anatomy. Mushroom name, mushroom Latin name, points gained when grown, spores required to fruit mushroom. Reference for fungi facts found on page 17. Spore count. Decay action. You can spend 1 insect to refresh the market at any point on your turn. Game end. The end of game is triggered by a player having at least 1 decayed mushroom in all 5 slots on their player mats. The game immediately ends if no other turns are taken. If the player decayed as the first action, they do not get a second. The player who ends the game gains the end of game token, EGT, which is worth 5 points. All the players add up their scores, including all fruited and decayed mushrooms, plus any insect tokens. The player with the highest number of points wins and is crowned victor over the fungi kingdom. In the event of a tie, the player who grew the most mushrooms overall wins. If still tied, the player with the most insect tokens wins. In the unlikely event of another tie, the tied players share the victory. If you played with 3 player mats, the EGT is worth 3 points, and with 4 player mats, it's worth 4. Insect tokens. Placement and collection. Whenever a new triangle tile with an insect symbol is added to the board, an insect token must be placed on the tile. You can only gain insect tokens from the board with your mother mushroom. You can pick up insect tokens by landing on or moving through a tile with your mother mushroom. You can also trade in 3 cards from your hand at any point on your turn to gain 1 insect token. Spending insect tokens. You can spend your token at any point on your turn, which will not count as one of your 2 actions. Give your insect tokens back to the supply and perform one of these actions. 2 insect tokens. Move another player's mother mushroom to any other triangle on the board, as long as it does not contain another player's mother mushroom. 1 insect token. Refresh the market. Discard all 3 cards on display and place another 3 face up. Insects as points. When scoring points, you score 1 point for every 2 insect tokens you have at the end of the game. There are no half points in the game, so if you have 3 insect tokens, you still only gain 1 extra point. There are a total of 20 insect tokens, so there will be an extra 10 points up for grab if they are all revealed. Why insects? Insects are friends of fungi because they crawl across mushrooms and pick up spores on their feet and bodies, helping to disperse the fungi spores in a different way.